You know, in the world we live in today, everything feels like it's moving at the speed of light. Someone sends a message, and before you can even take a breath, they're already wondering why you haven't replied. There's this constant pressure to always be available, always connected, always giving your time and energy away like it's endless. And because of that, most people never stop to realize the value of someone's presence. Until it's not there anymore, that's where silence comes in. When you go quiet, no texts, no calls. It's not about playing games. It's about disrupting the rhythm he's gotten used to. See, when someone hears from you all the time, it becomes predictable. Predictability kills excitement. It makes people take things for granted because they stop noticing the little moments, the effort, the energy you bring. But the moment you go silent, it's like pulling a rug out from under them. Suddenly, there's a gap, a void, and human nature hates a void. We want to fill it. Think about it. When you hear a song on repeat, you eventually stop paying attention to the lyrics. It becomes background noise. But when that song stops playing altogether, you notice the silence. You start craving the melody again because you didn't realize how much you liked it until it was gone. That's exactly what happens when you stop reaching out. He notices the absence of your voice, your attention, your presence. And it hits differently because he wasn't prepared for it. And here's the thing, people confuse silence with disinterest, but it's not that. It's about letting someone feel what life is like when you're not constantly showing up for them. You create a contrast, because contrast is what makes things stand out. If it's always sunny, no one appreciates the sun. It's the rainy days that make the sunshine feel magical again. So when you stop texting and calling, you're not punishing him. You're giving him space to feel something, real curiosity, maybe a little anxiety, maybe even fear of losing you. All of those emotions wake him up because now he has to think about you. He has to wonder. He has to miss you. And missing you is the key. That's where desire is born. Most people never allow this to happen because they're scared. They think if I don't reach out, maybe he'll forget about me. But the truth is, if someone forgets you that easily, they were never invested in the first place. Silence doesn't push the right person away. It pulls them closer because they feel the shift. It makes them realize they can't just coast along assuming you'll always be there. And you know what? Silence also says something powerful about you. It shows you're not desperate for attention. It shows you value your energy enough not to hand it out like free samples. It shows confidence, and confidence, that's magnetic. That's what makes people lean in instead of pulling away. So when you stop texting, when you stop calling, you're not losing anything. You're creating space for him to realize your worth, to feel your absence, and to actually want to close that gap himself. That's when everything starts to change. Here's what most people get wrong when it comes to pulling back. They think silence creates distance, but the truth is it doesn't. It creates desire. There's a big difference between the two. Distance pushes people apart because it feels cold, final, like a door is shutting. Desire, on the other hand, is born when there's enough space for someone to actually feel something, and that space doesn't push them away, it pulls them in. See, when you're constantly texting, constantly calling, constantly showing up, you don't give anyone the chance to wonder what it's like when you're not around. And wondering is where attraction lives. It's in that moment where he thinks, where is she? What's she doing? Who's she with? That curiosity builds an energy inside him that no amount of chasing can create. It's like reading a book where you already know the ending. If someone spoils the whole story in the first chapter, there's nothing left to get excited about. You read, but you're not invested. Why? Because there's no anticipation, no unknown. Constant communication does the same thing in relationships. It gives him the whole story before he's had a chance to earn it. But when you go quiet, you're turning the page slowly. You're letting him feel the tension, the mystery, the pull of not knowing what comes next. And this isn't about being manipulative. It's about understanding how human emotions work. We crave what feels scarce. We value what we have to work for. We desire what isn't always guaranteed. When you're always there, always available, always reaching out, he doesn't have to fight for your time or your energy. And when he doesn't have to fight for it, he doesn't value it in the same way. But the moment you stop chasing, everything shifts. Suddenly, he has room to think, he has room to feel, and that feeling of missing you, that's where the magic happens. That's what makes him text first. That's what makes him wonder if someone else is getting your attention. That's what makes him realize you're not just sitting there waiting for him to call. Because here's the secret. Attraction doesn't grow in constant closeness. It grows in the space between two people. It grows when there's a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of mystery, a little bit of distance that he feels compelled to close himself. But most people never give this process a chance because they're terrified of losing control. They think, if I don't call, maybe he'll forget about me. If I don't text, maybe he'll lose interest. But the truth is, silence doesn't kill interest. It feeds it, if the connection was real to begin with. Because someone who actually values you isn't going to let silence last too long. He's going to feel the gap and do something about it. So when you stop calling, when you stop texting, you're not creating a wall between you. You're creating a space that makes him step up. A space that forces him to miss you, to want you, to crave you again. And that desire, that's what changes everything. Here's what most people don't realize. Relationships aren't just about what you say or how often you reach out. They're about the energy you bring. And when you stop chasing, when you pull back from the constant calls and texts, you shift that energy in a way that speaks louder than any words ever could. It's like turning off the noise so he can finally feel the silence. And in that silence, he begins to notice you in a completely different way. See, when you're always the one initiating, always the one checking in, always the one making sure the connection stays alive, you're carrying all the energy of the relationship on your shoulders. You're pushing it forward while he's simply responding to what you give. That might feel good for him because it's easy, but it leaves no room for him to invest emotionally. And the truth is, people value what they invest in. If he never has to put anything into this dynamic, he never truly feels the weight of what it means to have you in his life. But the moment you stop chasing, you flip the script. Instead of pouring all your energy into getting his attention, you redirect that energy back into yourself. You start living your life again. You go out with friends, you focus on your passions, you wake up excited about your day instead of waiting to see if he'll text. That shift is magnetic. Because nothing is more attractive than someone who has a full, vibrant life that doesn't revolve around waiting for someone else. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop chasing, you create space for him to step up. You create room for him to bring his energy into the relationship because now he has to. There's no longer a constant stream of attention from you that he can just sit back and enjoy. Suddenly, if he wants your time, your presence, your affection, he has to put in effort. And effort is what makes people feel connected. It's what makes them feel like they have something worth holding onto. This is where so many people get it wrong. They think chasing shows love, shows care, shows interest. But chasing actually takes away the opportunity for the other person to feel those things for you. When you do all the work, there's no room for him to feel that pull, that excitement, that drive to win you over. And without that drive, attraction fades. But when you pull back, when you let him wonder what you're doing, when you let him feel the loss of your energy, that's when he realizes he doesn't want to lose you. It's in that moment of absence that his desire wakes up. that he feels the need to come toward you instead of just sitting still. Because here's the truth, you don't attract someone by proving your worth through constant effort. You attract them by living in a way that makes them want to be part of your world. And that only happens when you stop chasing and start allowing space for them to feel what life is like without your constant attention. You know what's interesting about human nature. We're wired to want what feels just out of reach. If something is handed to us too easily, we stop appreciating it. We stop fighting for it. That's why uncertainty is such a powerful trigger in attraction. It keeps people on their toes. It keeps things exciting. And when you suddenly stop texting or calling, you create that tiny bit of uncertainty that makes him sit up and pay attention in a way he hasn't before. Think about it. If someone knows your every move, if they can predict exactly when you'll text, exactly what you'll say, exactly how available you are, where's the excitement, there's nothing left to figure out. And without anything to figure out, there's no mystery, no challenge, no reason for him to wonder what you're feeling or thinking. But the moment you break that pattern, when the constant flow of attention stops, he suddenly doesn't know what's going on anymore. That shift wakes him up because uncertainty does something to the brain. It makes us curious. It makes us want to solve the puzzle. If he doesn't hear from you, he starts asking himself, is she losing interest? Is she busy with someone else? Did I do something wrong? That little bit of doubt forces him to think about you in a way he didn't have to when you were always the one initiating. And that's the point. You want him thinking about you. You want him wondering, because wondering is what keeps people engaged. Now, this doesn't mean you're playing games. It's not about manipulation. It's about creating a balance where he doesn't just assume he has all of you without any effort. When someone feels like they have you no matter what, they get comfortable, sometimes too comfortable. But when there's just enough uncertainty to make them question things, it creates desire. It makes them want to show up. It makes them want to put in the work so they can feel secure again. And here's the thing. When you create this space, when you let that little bit of uncertainty creep in, it shifts the dynamic completely. Instead of him feeling like he can call the shots because you're always there, he now has to wonder if you'll be there at all. He has to step into the unknown, and that unknown is where attraction lies. Most people are terrified of this because they think uncertainty will push someone away. They think if they're not constantly proving themselves, the other person will forget about them. But the truth is, the right person won't forget. The right person will feel that space and want to close it. They'll feel that uncertainty and want to turn it back into security by coming toward you, by investing in you, by making sure they don't lose what they suddenly realize matters to them. So when you stop calling, when you stop texting, and he starts to feel that uncertainty, you're not losing him, you're waking him up. You're giving him a reason to want to move closer again, and that's where real attraction begins. Here's the thing about going quiet. It doesn't just create desire, it reveals the truth. Because when you pull back, when you stop texting and calling, you're giving someone the chance to show you exactly where they stand. And that's powerful. See, as long as you're the one keeping the conversation alive, as long as you're the one holding everything together, you never really know how much they care. You never really know how much they're willing to invest. But the moment you stop, the moment there's silence, their actions, or lack of them, tell you everything you need to know. If someone is truly interested, they won't let too much time go by before they reach out. They won't sit back and risk losing you because they'll feel the shift. They'll notice the absence of your energy, your attention, your voice, and they'll want it back. They'll step up because the silence will make them realize you're not guaranteed to always be there, waiting. That fear of loss wakes people up fast. It makes them put in the effort they might have been taking for granted before, but if they don't step up, if they're perfectly fine letting the silence stretch on forever. That's your answer right there, and as painful as that can feel in the moment, it's actually a gift, because it saves you time. It saves you from wasting your energy on someone who was never really invested in the first place. It shows you who was there for the attention and convenience, and who was there because they truly cared. The problem is, most people never let this test happen. They're so afraid of losing someone that they keep filling the silence themselves. They keep texting, keep calling, keep chasing, because they can't stand the thought of things going quiet. But here's the reality. If the only thing holding a connection together is you constantly feeding it, it's not a real connection. A real connection is two people choosing each other, not one person doing all the work while the other just enjoys the benefits. Silence has a way of cutting through the noise. It strips away the excuses, the words, the promises, and it leaves only actions. Because someone can say they care, someone can say they want you, someone can say all the right things when you're the one keeping things alive. But when you stop, when there's no more effort on your side, what do? That's where the truth shows up, and the truth is always better than the fantasy. Because if they don't reach out, if they don't care enough to break the silence, you're not losing anything, you're gaining clarity. You're gaining freedom to stop investing in someone who was never going to give you what you deserved in the first place. And if they do reach out, if they feel that silence and step forward to close the gap, then you know they're willing to put in the energy too. So when you stop texting, when you stop calling, don't see it as a risk. See it as a filter. It will show you exactly who's willing to show up for you and who was only there when things were easy. Here's the part a lot of people misunderstand about going silent. It's not about disappearing forever. It's not about cutting someone off and expecting them to magically come running back. The real power is in the timing, knowing when to break the silence so that it creates the maximum impact. Because silence on its own is just the setup, the way you return, the way you re-engage, that's what shifts the whole dynamic in your favor. See, when you go quiet, you create space for him to feel your absence, to notice what it's like when you're not always available. But if you stay silent for too long, it can cross into indifference. The goal isn't to make him think you don't care at all. It's to make him realize your presence has value. So when you finally do reach out, it shouldn't feel desperate or like you've been waiting around for the perfect moment. It should feel natural, confident, like you've been busy living your life and simply decided to reconnect on your terms. This is where most people slip up. They break the silence too soon because they get anxious. They start wondering, what if he's losing interest? What if he forgets about me? So they jump back in with the same energy as before, and all the power of the silence disappears instantly. But when you break it with confidence, when you reach out not because you need his attention, but because you choose to, that's when everything changes. Because here's the thing, he's been feeling the gap. He's been wondering why you pulled back, maybe even feeling that mix of curiosity and desire that comes when someone realizes they don't have you on lock anymore. So when you do show up again, it's like the tension finally snaps. He's been leaning in, and now you're meeting him halfway, but on your terms. That's what makes it powerful, and you don't come back with long explanations or heavy emotions. You come back with lightness, with ease, with the same energy you had when you first met, when things were fun, playful, exciting. That contrast is what reignites everything, because now he sees you differently. Before, maybe he felt like you were always there no matter what. Now he sees that you have standards, that you're not going to hand over all your attention for free, that your time and energy are valuable. The silence followed by your confident return sends a message without you ever having to say the words, I know my worth. I'm not chasing anyone, but when I show up, it's because I choose to, not because I have to. That energy is magnetic. It makes him want to meet you where you are instead of taking you for granted. So the goal isn't to stay quiet forever. It's to create that moment where he feels the difference and then come back with a presence that reminds him why he doesn't want to lose you again. That balance between space and connection, that's what keeps the spark alive. If you want, I can now take all 6 key points and turn them into a single, seamless motivational speech, so it flows naturally from start to finish. Do you want me to do that? And that's the moment everything shifts, because now he's not just hearing your words, he's feeling your worth.